Welcome to the Synapse Philosophy Group, everybody. And we are on BJ Palmer's volume 39, his final book, and it's amazing. We're on page 48, laying a new foundation is the head of this chapter. And I just want to talk about something. Next week, we're going to have a guest who has done a lot of research on D.D. Palmer's book, The Chiropractor, which was compiled by his wife after he died of essays. And I absolutely love that book, and I think it should be, first quarter reading for. Actually, I think it would save it for a few quarters because it is meaty, but it's excellent. So we're going to have Zale next week, and so I'm really excited about that. And so I'm going to read the first paragraph, then I'm going to hand off to Alan. Okay. Anybody have anything else before we start? We're ready to rock. Laying a new foundation. There is no justification for another book, school, magazine, religion, church, or clinic unless there is a necessary need. Today, we have too many books, schools, magazines, religions, churches, and clinics which duplicate each other, therefore fill no new need, have no excuse for existence. If a new book was something new which has not been said, if a school has a new principle or practice, if a church has a new creed, if a magazine has a new process of thought, or if a clinic has a new service to render, then they justify reason for coming into being. We believe in establishing, building, and creating the B.J. Palmer Chiropractic Clinic. We have a new service to render. The laying of new fundamental of scientific knowledge, cause and cure of disease, rendered a complete scientific extracting manner, securing results better in worse cases, in quicker time, at less cost. Building this clinic is not a desire of a few people to make a living. Neither is it to develop a practice of dividing from or attracting that which others have by detracting it here. Building this clinic is what our title implies, a deep understood purpose and plan, supplying a need which is absent any other place. I'm going to pause there. We have someone coming in right now too. One thing that we never really talk about is rendering. This is a vital thing that we're doing chiropractically, and it's cost effective at less cost, an adjustment and letting the body heal itself compared to some of this complicated stuff. Anybody get any insights on there? Anybody want to share anything?
Well, it's the separate and distinct. We're doing something different. There's no need for more books and stuff about medicine or anything. He says, is the reference. He doesn't say medicine, but that's the implication ultimately. But that we're doing something new and different, and that's why there's this book, and that's why we're doing the clinic.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else?
Yeah, so this is extremely rare for me to say. However, it caught me in this moment tonight. I'm actually disagreeing with BJ here. I cannot believe I'm saying those words.
That's what we're here for.
Safe territory.
So I wrote down, this really hit me, this one part, have no use for existence. And that made me stop listening for the next few sentences. And I went back and then dove back into your reading. And I went back, and I'm upper cervical practitioner as well, and in the art of it. But philosophically, when I heard this, have no use for existence and no more books and clinics, I completely disagree. We're on this planet. This is life where and even BJ had new discoveries. That really hit me. I disagree with that use of those words. Have no use for existence. That really hit me.
I'm kind of on the same page with you. We all grow from reading articles, and you get inspiration. We've been inspired from BJ, from DD, And, without inspiration, we have no growth. And I don't know who said it, like, back in the 1800s, all the inventions have already been invented. And, I follow along with you that I'm on the same page with you, Barry. There is a lot more. Alan, do you have something?
Well, I mean, what he's saying is, if they're saying the same thing, there's not a purpose for him. Because the next sentence, because then it says, if a church has a new creed, it says if a new book has something new which has not been said, a school has a new principle or practice, if a church has a new creed, a magazine has a new process of thought, or if a clinic has a new service to render, then they justify reason for coming into being. So yeah, he's fine with something new, but if you're saying the same old thing, why bother?
Right. And I agree with that, because in principle, in law, yeah, they are what they are. There's nothing new there. Like, I agree with that. I guess his delivery of that speech, those use of words there earlier, like, I can't believe that I really went against what he was saying. I'm usually go BJ.
Well, it's all,
glad you did.
Once again, it's sometimes he's hard to grasp. Sometimes you
Yes.
got to look twice and make sure you're reading it the way it's reading what he's saying, and to go back and read it a second time and see if if that's a qualification. I'm not saying that he's always right, but I'm saying, his context and the way he writes is sometimes difficult. It's difficult to read when you're reading to yourself. It's even more difficult, as Haig and I can attest to, reading it out loud. It's so you got to make sure. But yeah, there's certainly, you're not wrong in what you're saying. But I think that you may have shut off the part where he said, but.
Right. And what's interesting, they wrote here, has too many books. This is coming from a man in an enterprise. They had their own printer at the school.
Yeah, that's right.
And I love collecting your books and volumes, BJ.
And some of them are repetitious.
Right.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Too
my
many
gosh,
books.
yes. I had a thought when I was reading that, because I used to say the same thing about, modern philosophers and self-helpers like Wayne Dyer and these guys, where, like James Allen, As a Man Thinketh, a few pages, it basically explains everything these guys spend volumes on, right? And I used to say relatively the same thing about these guys. And I realized people hear with different ears and read with different eyes, and they will perceive it differently from one person to the next. And I see the value, not repeating, but ultimately in, you create your own voice within something. And I think that's very powerful and important, especially as generations now go on. We can't change our basic tenets, our philosophy, our principles, but we get more depth and insights as we go. And I think that's really important as we go through time. And the research of today, is much different than it was 100 years ago. So we're getting new insights. And yeah, thanks for that. There's a lot of interesting stuff out of that. Anybody else? Should we move on? All right. You
want me to pick it up?
Pick it up. Thank you, sir. I'm going to mute myself out.
There's no business so fraught with guesswork, errors, innocent deceptions as that of treating sick with rash promises, implied hopes of treating effects, thinking such might get them well. Dangers are not those of malicious men, but those of misdirected systems. They blindly create and stumblingly follow. Medicine is what it is, not because its followers are insecure, suffering with delusions of grandeur, or because their motives are questionable, but because of myths, mysteries, and moth-eaten methods, centuries in breeding, which fasten themselves into routine that none dare divide. Beginning with asking patients for symptoms, which patient alone feels, which patient tells doctor, who repeats back to patient told doctor, charging the case a fee for exchanging layman expressions of feeling into jargon of Latin, never understood terms. With tapping and listening means and methods of observation of pathologies, hoping to be able on outside of patient's body to know what is inside. Doctor then separates, sorts, correlates, divides, multiplies, and mixes his hopes and beliefs, and out of the jack-in-the-box kaleidoscope education comes a compiled name called a diagnosis. After diagnosis comes US Pharmacopoeia, with thousands of endorsed proper and ethical drug treatments, annually changed, one or more of which will be sorted out from many. Deluge of drugs prescribed, any of which is an unknown quantity in any one person's body. Doctor follows name to book. Book tells what he should prescribe. No symptoms or pathology, no name, no book, no treatment. Diagnosis is important to the medical man. Without it, nothing can follow, for there is its beginning. No wonder medicine is empirical, dogmatic guesswork, a cut and dry by guess and by God prayer to the God Jupiter. That prescription is an RX next to that. That something works in previous and peculiar ways. If patient dies, it was the grace of God. If it goes well, doctor takes credit.
Let's pause there a minute.
So
one thing is devious. Something works in devious and peculiar ways. I was just, he's really picking on medicine right here. Yeah, big time.
So
and go ahead.
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, I mean, this is like this is the 1-2 punch in medicine, and what do you call it? US Pharmacopoeia. I like that. All of us at some time have ranted and raved about, medicine or whatever, even in today's whatever's going on. But yeah, he's in the middle of a rant right now. His last days of his life, really, right before when he's writing this. Anybody else? Go ahead.
So this is where I was going to talk about earlier, Haig. So a while back, I read a book called The Confessions of a Medical Heretic, which some of you may be aware of, by Robert Mendelsohn, who was a medical doctor. And in that book, as I went through it, I made notes in the back of the book, and I just wanted to go through the list of what he does as far as the same thing BJ's talking about here, because he creates the parallels and says doctors are seen as priests. He calls it the Church of Medicine. So doctors are priests, the hospital is the temple, drugs are the sacraments, surgery are the rites, research is prayer, divide the family, that's the holy war, death is God, not going to the doctor is a sin, sacred objects are hospital equipment, there's sacred language, the Latin that BJ talks about, history is the confessional, right? You get the patient to tell you everything that's going on for them. Insurance are the indulgences. And then he says that the holy waters are immunization, fluoridated water, intravenous fluids, and silver nitrate. So I thought when I read this, I hadn't thought about that book in a long time, and that just popped into my brain. I thought, well, that's a direct parallel there. I think I read that when I was at Sherman, that they talked to us about that book. I think Mendelsohn actually came to Sherman. Yeah, I got this in 1980. It's actually, I have it. It's an autographed copy. Oh, cool. I got it from Mendelsohn when he was at Sherman.
God prayer to the God Jupiter. Why do you think he's using Jupiter there?
Well, I think that Jupiter had to do with healing in some ways, but he was the head god, right? No, Zeus was Jupiter, which Zeus and yeah.
Tom and Thomas, you're new to the group. If you want to discuss anything, let us know. We're right on page 49, bottom paragraph of BJ's volume 39, our masterpiece. And if we're discussing that right now. So if you want to add anything, you're welcome to anytime. Okay.
Okay, I got to see if I have that book.
Okay. Well, we're reading it too. So we're going to read it right now. Should we go to the next paragraph, Alan?
I'm good.
Let's rock it.
The
and welcome.
Battle of Sherman. The battle of searching for cause of disease has gone on for centuries and still goes relentlessly on. Effects alone are observed. One effect becomes cause of other effects. Effects trial effects. No primary cause ever being found. Microscope is developed, it finds microscopic life. All else previously failing, this opens new studies. Germs cause disease is a new battle cry. They seek the enemy in tissue layers. They find one, tag him, announce his arrival, build a chemical gun to kill him, killing the germ, patient dies cured. They make another old repudiation and another new announcement. This in time and place is denied. And so the scale runs up and down year after year. Chemistry opens new fields. It finds new secretions, locates its organs. Out comes diet with vitamins, hormones, calories, etc. Then comes dotes, antidotes, vaccines and anti-vaccines. Disease becomes animal, vegetable, and or chemical, everlasting, seeking, trailing, finding, and denying. I probably should have been trialing. It's probably another misprint. All because something outside is said to disagree with something inside. Many causes, many diseases, many studies, many treatments, complexities pile up until it is centuries top heavy, overburdening schools, professors, libraries, practitioners, bewildered, amazed, and living in a maze none knew where to turn. Which way to go to win the struggle for a healthful existence? In a large sense, all professions have steadfastly persisted in following same guides, make same approach, pursue same paths, mix same names, apply same simulative and inhibitive treatment methods with modifications as to necktie, parting hair, or color of shoes, all of which bring sick man out of same small end of the human life funnel, cases die. And when physicians shuffle off, all wonder what the struggle was all about.
What was it all about?
This is great. This is classic BJ, and this is his soul at the end of his life.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to say because, to think about it, what is this all about? And he started off with the medicine chasing everything outside. He's ultimately not dissing it. He did have to use it in cases at the end of his life. Philosophically, though, principally, it's completely opposite of where chiropractic is. And this is all this outside stuff. And at the end, he gets into that relationship with the doctors and the diseases and treatments. And then what is this all about? That's deep.
Yeah. And the next paragraph, I'm not going to spoil it, but he's talking about us now.
Yeah, he comes back.
You know, going through all this, this stuff. And then if the person dies, it's God's will. If they're healed, we take all the credit, being in the medicine man, where the chiropractor is, we deliver this, your body does the rest. Sigafu said, I give you the adjustment, God does the healing,
Right.
And where we don't take credit. And it's, people want to give it to us. Oh, you did so great. And I tell them, good job. And we've all done those things. I move the bone. You've got a lot of work to do after you leave here. Your body's working hard right now, right? Where, the shoes on the other foot here is, the medical man, and I hate to say that because most medical professionals want to do well for their people. They are just educated differently and have different concepts and ideals. A doctorate in medicine is what it is, right? And a doctorate in chiropractic are really completely different ideologies. And
supposed to be.
They're supposed to be. We're separate and distinct.
Right.
So,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, what you were saying, no credit, no blame.
No credit, no blame. Well, you can't blame me if it got worse. I had a woman come in.
But it's
today.
also, that's the point. That's exactly the point. That sometimes the patient has to run a higher fever after they get adjusted. The symptoms may be worse. That doesn't mean that they're worse. It may mean
Yeah.
that they're healing and doing exactly what the body needed to do. I had that personal experience.
Yeah.
So, it's that happens sometimes.
I had those conversations today. I had adjusted a man and, his sciatic pain felt worse. And I said, we just unpinched the nerve. Your spinal cord is communicating life to your body. It's going to do that much better than it did when you were subluxated for a little bit, but you're on the healing path right now. You have to trust. That's a hard thing, is beating trust into people's heads, right?
Right.
Because we're in a McDonald's mentality, right? It's the nature of our society. Anybody else? Let's finish up these couple of paragraphs for tonight.
EJ's response to himself here.
Right.
Our lives have been researching to get sickness out of mystery, to make health a simple study, to build avenues of approach practical, eliminate guesswork, and secure positive knowledge. The clinic with a capital C, so there he's referring to the BJ clinic, does not diagnose any case. We ascribe no name to complex group of symptoms. Neither do we go on fishing expedition on outside to direct us to think about what we hope is inside, that we might correlate or separate them into accepted names to go to a book, to apply treatments of effects that follow that name. The cause inside, cure inside, from above down, with cause practical and internal, inside out cure equally so. That's a hard line that I want to reread for folks, because that's
a good idea.
That's a big line. The cause inside, cure inside, from above down, with cause practical and internal, inside out cure equally so. With a known specific cause for one single and simple disease, and a like specific for adjustment. Where subluxation was how, when, how, why, and where to adjust area. I'm sorry, I'm going to start that sentence again. Where subluxation was how, when, how, why, and where to adjust area, all are within reach of every man if willing to think, study, apply mental faculties in solving age-old riddles of living human beings. It required a foundation, elimination of variables, and establishment of constants. As these have been done, man is an open book in sickness and health, life and death. The work of this clinic has progressed so that...
Let's pause a second, Alan. Let's hold on.
Okay.
Because I was just thinking, volume 20, it's a very interesting book. They go through diagnosis in that. What people came in, maybe they're using medical diagnosis, what they came in as. He did the pre-X-ray, adjustment, post-X-ray. That's what volume 20 is. And then the outcome, they usually have one adjustment, occasionally two, but usually one adjustment and 30 days rest. And, their ailments have changed. I don't know if the BJ Palmer Clinic was using those diagnoses, or that was probably what they came in with.
They had, at the BJ Clinic, they had medical doctors on staff that did
True.
diagnostic for the research purposes. They had people doing medical diagnosis so that they can annotate that medically and then adjust, not related to that, but say, this changed when we did chiropractic work with this patient, they call it.
Right. Okay.
So on that book as well, that book is written more on the aspect of the science leg of our profession. So that's detail, that's research, and diagnosis is part of the research of what's the outside in, diagnosis. And whereas compared to here, his message and the speech is part of our philosophy leg. Our masterpiece is more the philosophical side. So volume 20 is a great one.
That's good insight on that separation, really, of the research leg and the philosophy leg. That's important. Thank you for that insight, for sure. Anybody else? All right, let's keep going. I'm
All right.
like, I'm intrigued by this. I'm
It's
excited.
good.
Thanks.
The work of this clinic has progressed so that were a case to enter who uttered no word or sign, wrote no information, said or revealed nothing to us of what was wrong with him, we could proceed along definite positive scientific lines, find information necessary to accurately and efficiently locate cause of his illness, whatever or wherever it was, adjust it, observe, and study his recovery, ascertain facts as to his progress, and send him home well. Proceeding along these lines, we need no symptoms or pathologies, neither would we make diagnoses which proves that the mysterious and unknown are not necessary to get sick people well. Precision x-rays, he goes through a list of things here. Precision x-rays would be secured without information from case. NCM, NCG, so that's neurocalligraph, neurokilometer neurocalligraph readings would be secured without verbal cooperation. Adjustments would be corrected, given without case revealing anything to us. Restoration of mental impulse supply to us would occur within him, whether he wishes it mentally or not. Daily NCM, NCG post checks would be taken without a spoken word. Precision X-ray comparative graphs would be taken, and silence do still prevail. To all this, without verbal communications between patient and doctor, the electroencephalomintipograph will establish a constant and variables graph wave pattern of before adjustment and after, and prove the restoration of brain to body from above down, inside out nerve energy flow graph wave. Truly, science is climbing to superior objectives when this foundation and stage of development have been reached. That our life's research was far-reaching, ahead of masses, has not been understood, not even by many supposedly close who are in reality as far away as continents. Miles do not make distance, neither does elimination of distances make people close, but mental understanding makes people close, even though across the ocean. Where misunderstanding exists, they are never together, even though they sleep in the same room year after year. Well, that's it. That paragraph is just so amazing to me, that he's talking about the fact that those of us on this call are all on the same page. There's other people that call themselves chiropractors sleeping in the same room. They could never be my brother. You know, and that's what he's talking about. This is calling out the people in chiropractic at this point, not anybody else.
Right. I like how at the beginning of those paragraphs you just read there, he then is talking about our clinic and his work of chiropractic at the time, whereas before he was talking about medicine, the outside in. And personally, me, that's literally the way I practice. I don't have an electrocephaloneuromentipograph in my office. However, his clinic is like my dream clinic still, honestly. And at the end of those paragraphs there, he then really gets deep, and you can really see his soul really speaking there to us.
Yeah, I agree. He's, it's almost like, have you all gotten it yet? It's like, please get this before I'm gone. But we're still in this, when we talk about all these things, this is really current. It's not ancient history in any way. It's also current. Right. And you could feel the man, like you're saying, you can feel the man just pouring out his soul in a way.
Yeah, and at the very beginning there too, he's talking about the clinic, and like he's saying it for those outside of chiropractic who's listening to this, especially later, it's not like no pathologies, no symptoms, no diagnosis. We don't want that. Like nothing from the outside in that you've bringing us to the medical doctors or hospitals. Honestly, we don't need to know that. And the reason why is principally and clinically, the power of the nervous system flows from the brain down through the atlas bone through the rest of the spine. And it's that above, down, inside out, that information, that power, brain to body communication. So outside people watching this, it's not like he's haphazard and doesn't care. He actually really, truly does care. Principally, he is pure. He is known as a purist, principally.
It doesn't matter if you're bleeding from the eyes or bleeding from the colon. It's a subluxation. Find that subluxation, adjust it. It doesn't matter of the disease, right? We're not treating the disease. We're caring for the person. That's where that word treatment is such a curse word in chiropractic, because it's totally off of our tenets. It's totally off principle of caring for the person compared to treating a symptom or a disease or malfunction, which is really, in chiropractic terms, a subluxation. And I realized just in that last paragraph of what I have gotten from chiropractic is that I've got a consciousness of really what being sick is. And, having vomiting is not sickness. That's really being well. Having a cold, which I got a little cold right now. Thank God my immune system is working. That's not being sick. It's actually being very well, being health. It's life. And chiropractic has really given me a greater consciousness of self and hope, where the rest of the world in reality wants to rob people of hope. And, I feel it is the greatest gift to humanity. Chiropractic is. It truly is. Anybody else?
Christian, I see your hand up.
Go
Unmute
ahead.
yourself.
Okay. I was listening to these paragraphs, and he's talking about medicine and the effects, the side effects that cause it. With the medicine part, I disagree in some ways, because I think chiropractic has this way that we can locate a subluxation in the body of the other person willing to heal. But I think medicine sometimes interferes with the natural way that life flows. When maybe a person gets a heart attack and then they give him a surgery to get him a new heart, so the life that person can continue and be willing to be going on. And I don't know, I've just been thinking, I have some questions about the above, down, inside out phrase. And what else do I have to share with you guys?
So can I
on, Barry.
jump in? Can I jump in
Yeah.
and reply?
Pause a second, Christian. Come back to that point. Okay, go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, so I completely agree with you, and ultimately BJ does too. Their medicine has a place. He did use medicine. BJ did have surgery, at least one that I know of, maybe a couple at the end of his life. What he's ultimately saying, and we take this wrong, and I took this wrong as a student as well, even later in life at times. What he's saying is, principally, as the practice and art of chiropractic, follow our principles, be straight. It's up to the patient it's up to the client or patient to have that choice. These are our principles. Follow this way. Ultimately, don't veer off of that. It's their choice. He respects that. He's not saying no to the patient. He's talking to us. We're chiropractors. He's talking to us, not to them.
Right.
That's separate and distinct.
There's place. I think that he acknowledged and clearly, I mean, the fact that they had people working in the clinic to diagnose people, that medicine has its place as an emergency intervention at times. If I break my arm, I want to get adjusted, but I also need to get it, I may need to get it set so it'll heal the best possible way, get it realigned in that process. That by an orthopedist, it can give it the right yank and then stabilize it for me. But I still want to be sure that my nerve system's working to be able to see it and heal it the best possible way. I'm going to get adjusted too. And so there's place for medicine, but what he's saying here is that there are issues with the way they go about it. And we're doing something that's different. And he's making sure that's clear and saying, we have all these processes that we use, and now we have others that we use. We have we have electronic devices that we can use to look at the nerve system and the musculature that give us information that we can use to help analyze and detect the subluxations and notice the changes that happen as people improve. But we want to stay close to that process in our office, and it doesn't require us to know what symptoms they have. They'll come in and tell you, and often, I'll touch an area that they tell me hurts, but it doesn't mean I'm going to adjust them there. I then go down and I do my leg checks and I do my palpations, and I find the areas that I feel are appropriate to adjust on that given day, irregardless of the symptom that they told me.
Yeah.
That help, Christian, at all?
Yes, I think I got my idea right this time. So BJ's talking about diagnosing people from their symptoms and what they are suffering. I think that type of research is important. I don't remember where I heard something about a classification of the people that BJ sees during his practice, because I think there is people that is born healthy, and then there is people that is born healthy, and as it grows, it gets sick. But as he gets sick, the persons get sick, they have subluxations during their what do you call it? Their vertebral column. And then there are another classification of people that are born healthy, and during their life they get sick, but they don't have any subluxations.
Now, there is the story of why would two people that sat at a table together eating the same food, why would one end up with diabetes and one not? That subluxation is affecting how they function. We don't know if they, we don't check every human being, It would be nice if chiropractors were in every delivery room and in every hospice, in the country, but we're not. We don't know if people have subluxations. It's most likely that they do. Now, they come from chemical stress, physical stress, emotional stress. You don't know what a person's been through in their life. You don't know what in the world has stressed them out. They say most cancer has to do with emotional stress, right? Stuff we hold inside causing the subluxation. So ultimately, it's impossible to truly judge if someone was subluxated. Living, people live to 110, they very likely could be subluxated and not be detrimental to their life, but it could have caused irritation, some malfunction, and those type of things, or they may have never noticed it, but still have been subluxated and not even know it, no matter how they lived their life.
Regarding medicine and chiropractic, I don't think BJ or DD gave better adjustments. But what they did is they were so focused on the power of the adjustment. It wasn't thrown like here and now drink some wheatgrass juice to keep it going. No, the faith and the confidence that he had and the specificity that he did for himself as well as, and the patient felt that. There's nothing more powerful than a one-pointed mind. That's what we're here to do. I don't tell people to get the shot or don't get the shot or eat wheatgrass or don't eat wheatgrass. But when they come to me, they know they're going to get this powerful service, which is the location and removal of the vertebral subluxation. And when we're one-pointed like that, there ain't nothing like it.
Christian, I'm going to get you 1 second. Thank you, Steve. I miss you. We miss you here. Okay.
Yeah, I have a meeting that ends at 8:30.
I know. Well, this past weekend, I taught innate adjusting at DE and dynamic essentials. And that was what it was about, Steve, was having that intention, that clear focus, listening to the body and becoming one with the bone, like Clarence Gonstead said. And then everything changes. I don't know about you guys. If someone's talking in the room when you're adjusting, do you quiet them down? Let me focus on you. I mean, I have open adjusting room and sometimes there's a ruckus, but especially that person right here. No more talking. Let me focus on you. Go ahead, Christian.
Okay, I've been absent the last classes of philosophy, but I kept sharing with my friends. And yesterday I was practicing, and I told one of my friends how was he going through his practice and how does he feel? Because here I feel like there we are creating adjusting machines because they have no soul, they have no philosophy. So that's how I feel. So I told them to slow down, to analyze the person he's gonna adjust because he's seeing one of the principles. While your patient is laying down on the pelvic bench, face downward, you can see your patient breathe in and breathe out before you adjust them. And that's the way I see the expression of innate intelligence through the matter of the body of the person. And before you even start palpating to find the subluxation, you can probably see it there. So I told them, you can adjust me. I'm gonna let you adjust me, but I'm only going to let you adjust me in one segment of my body. You're only gonna do one adjustment. I want you to be more specific and really to take the time to feel what my body needs, or what my body needs to be moved, so I can start the procedure of healing. And he told me, he's like, dude, I need this so much because I'm starting to become, he's starting to make a routine with his adjustments. He has patients come in and he's like, okay, I'm gonna adjust the cervical area, and then I'm going to the thoracic part, and then to lumbar. And he's like, I'm doing it so repeatedly that I'm not even paying attention to what the body needs. So I just want to share that part with you, and I'm grateful because you guys are here with me tonight, and we are sharing all of our thoughts and the things we live day to day.
Christian, you are spot on.
Big time.
There's, you're exactly right, and you're helping your friends, and that's a beautiful thing. There's times when you will find, in the old days, people would come in, and I have a card that somebody sent me one day that patients would come in with a card that had their listings on it. Well, the problem with that is that my attitude is every time somebody gets adjusted, there ought to be a change. And I know that, Barry, you said you're upper cervical, so you adjust mostly atlas and axis, but if you're adjusting full spine, you should see changes. You should see different things to adjust on different days. In my mind, that's what I would see. And sometimes you adjust something, you may adjust a cervical, and then you adjust a sacrum, and then you see a thoracic shows up. And as far as breathing goes, you can watch, and when you adjust somebody, if you step back, as soon as you adjust them and watch and see if their breathing changes.
Yeah.
And make sure and I always point out to the practice member, I say, did you feel your breathing change? And they'll go, yeah, I did. Because they don't notice it until you tell them, but as soon as you say it, they go, yeah. And that's an important thing for them to notice.
Right.
Alan, that's a really good point. Barry, go ahead.
No, and what you're saying is, other doctors can send me listings that they got from somewhere else. However, I choose to practice now. Let me analyze it first, and then I'll compare the data, the X-rays they bring in, the analysis. Then I'll compare, and usually we're on. And even full spine, we know it's usually similar to what other people have. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's completely different. However, we're still connecting, like Christian's talking and everybody's talking tonight. You're still connecting with that person. He's just talking here, BJ is at the end of this book here, procedural wise, principle wise, chiropractic. This is the purity of what it was and is at the time, because he is talking about the clinic here, and that was strictly upper cervical, and yet he's philosophically bashing on the other side of medicine. And when you communicate with these patients, they have their medical side. We have our own medical side. We all, so he's clashing all over the place here. This is fun. It's this, it's that. It's outside in, it's inside out. He's communicating that.
That's great. That's awesome, Barry. Thomas, did you have something you want to say?
Unmute yourself.
Thomas, did you want to say
Yeah,
something?
I'm just kind of listening in tonight. You know, this is my, you know, I was on here once before a while back, but I was able to see the live stream, the DE over the past weekend,
Oh, good.
and really enjoyed it. Sorry I couldn't be there, but it was really worth, you know, sitting in front of my TV and watching the whole the whole weekend. So you know, what I'm listening to is good. So I'm just kind of absorbing it. Something comes up that I like to say something, I'll definitely chime in.
All right. I saw you just sort of, you know, you came on, brought video, so I thought you might have something to say. We really appreciate you here, and I miss you. And I sent Dave a message that we're back on because I haven't seen him in a while either.
Yeah.
Christian, I just have
Another
one final-
thing,
Go ahead.
Yeah.
well,
Somebody.
Haig,
Steve.
you were talking about if there's a lot of talking going on, and I think it's important that the chiropractor is himself in touch with that place of healing, that quiet stillness. That's something, and that steers me as a chiropractor, and the patient resonates with that stillness. That's why it's very important. I know that's why in DE they do the breaths. Very important for me to be one-pointed with me. I need to be in alignment, and then the adjustment is transferred somehow. It's amazing. It's magical, and it helps me as the chiropractor to adjust.
Yeah.
It goes both ways.
So, Christian, what we're talking about at Dynamic Essentials, I don't know if you ever heard about it in Mexico, but you know, I just talked about exactly what we're talking about here, and I'm getting Spanish and Portuguese subtitles put on it because it was all about being at peace first before we're delivering the adjustment. And you are so right on target. And we have a whole bunch of these. If you're friends, you want to get people together, we have with Spanish subtitles on them. And, you know, we just talked about coming back out to Mexico again soon. So I'm excited all about that. And, you know, you're inspiring a lot of people out there, Christian. It's very exciting. For chiropractic, not for me, for chiropractic. Right on, brother. All right, guys, gentlemen, men, chiropractors. This was an awesome night. I appreciate you. Anybody have any last bits before we end?
Have fun.
Have fun. I have a plug for my new workshop. It's a 3-day intensive, innate adjusting, May 20th through the 22nd in Marietta, Georgia. So if anybody's interested, you are absolutely welcome to come. And that's my shameless plug for the night. And, you know, we'll be back here next Tuesday. Put it in your calendar with a beep an hour ahead of time.
Haig,
Go ahead.
what is your phone number? Yourself?
772-713-1487. And Thomas, that's for you. And who anybody else has questions, you can call me or text me anytime. Okay.
Next week we'll be doing the chiropractor.
Thank you, Barry, for your support.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful night. God bless you. And I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Good night. Love you too.